It used to be before the 1960s, people would look at a 20-year age gap in a relationship where the male's older as kind of a normal thing. Especially in the heyday of the 1930s and 40s film, the golden age of Hollywood. When you saw guys like Humphrey Bogart with Lauren Bacall, who was much, much younger than him, and all these starlets that he paired with that were much, much younger than him, and other contemporaries of his. Cary Grant, another example. You would see this a lot, where they would pair them with the young starlet in the romantic way. It would be like George Clooney hooking up with Jenna Ortega for a movie, which is something that they should do because that's something that's unique and interesting. Then there was the paternal aging effect myth of 1952, which led to this whole thing of like eventual never trust anybody over 30 and never trust a man kind of bullshit that is still pervasive even today, when there are plenty of cool dudes and there are plenty of cool people over 30 now. So you know that's a myth. The whole telomerase thing was discovered in middle-aged sperm in 2012, 1952 was a paternal aging effect myth, which was debunked with telomerase. And 1912, you also had suggestions of this myth that got a harder seal of approval in 1952, but it wasn't even ran with experimentation. It was ran like the anti-vaxxer study. One study basically said that all men over the age of like 30 shouldn't have kids, based on a myth from 1912 that wasn't verified scientifically at all. At all. There was no experiment based on this. People were still hooking up at that time, of course, with older men because that was the thing. Then we got into this whole thing of like youth entitlement, where you think that the younger dude is better than the older male in the relationship. That's really not even true. You see, because more health and longevity and intelligence and a better looking kid will come from the fact that your father is between the ages of 35 and 55, and also the mother between 18 and 25, because of the high telomerase in the reproductive transport cells, otherwise known as sperm, or the reproductive stationary cells known as ova, in two different periods of time. I think the universe is trying to tell us something by the fact that the whole universe is in an intergenerational sort of pattern. Moons are younger than planets, and planets are younger than stars, and stars are younger than the entire galaxy that they're in, and the galaxy is younger than the universe. That shows an intergenerational pattern. The Fibonacci sequence is in the golden spiral, of which there are many of them interconnected to form many galaxies. The most common galaxy is a spiral, and the Fibonacci sequence is a series of gaps, which you see in all nature, from the Coriolis effect to cloud formation to water currents to flower patterns to migration patterns, to everything in nature is embedded with the spiral, a series of gaps within the golden ratio. So you're seeing an intergenerational pattern on the cosmic scale. So that might mean something. And it does seem to jive well with telomerase being in two different age groups. The gap being don't date the millennials, date Generation Z, and don't date baby boomers, date Generation X males, of which I am one member of. And the Generation X would be hooking up with the Generation Z, which is what we see in my friends who are hooked up at the group home that I live at, where she's Generation Z and he's Generation X. They have a 21-year age gap, and it seems to work out pretty hunky-dory for them.